Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
Oh, what did we just witness? What did we just watch? Joel Embiid is Jesus. That was ridiculous. Joel Embiid. What did I just watch out of Joel Embiid? That shot where he decides to run back to the three-point line and drill it. That was insane. How was this Sixers team even involved in the game? I have no idea, because we all witnessed a squad that was getting crushed. And when you saw the Jazz knock down every single three and you realized the Sixers couldn't keep up that pace, not even keep up the pace in terms of taking the same amount of shots, right? I mean, they couldn't even get up enough threes to be in the conversation, yet somehow the lead was 3 points. And I even tweeted this out during the game. I thought it was a 300-point game. It truly felt like Utah had the game in their hands. They would walk away with ease. They were constantly making every single shot that they were taking. Seriously, after the first half, this is just in three-point shooting, the Jazz were outscoring the Sixers 30-3. That is correct. The Sixers had one three-pointer made. And then by the end of this game, it gets so wild. First off, for Donovan Mitchell to be bitching and complaining about the refereeing down the stretch. Dude, you got locked down by Ben Simmons. That's what Ben Simmons can do. All right? In case you didn't realize that, Donovan Mitchell, he's not a rookie. Yeah. You fucking look like a rookie tonight. After that, in that fourth quarter, you fucking look like one. Because Ben Simmons annihilated you. And then emotionally, you look like a fraud. Go back and look at the stat sheet, by the way. How many field goal attempts did he take? Look, I respect him, I do. But at the same time, what a loser. What an absolute loser. I talked about what happened earlier in the game. It just transitioned to this crazy wild finish. For all the praise that we are giving Ben for putting on the defensive clinic, Joel for the late game scoring, Tobias Harris for being a phenomenal Robin, let's not forget about Dwight Howard and what he was doing. Knocking down a three. Getting fouled, going to the charity stripe. Not the best free throw shooter in the world, but we'll just let that one slide a little bit here just for the conversation. And then the monster block. Game-changing stuff. And I can't stand the all-bench lineup, and I will continue to rip the all-bench lineup. It did work later on in this game, third, fourth quarter, but it's still not, like, I can't bet on for that to happen. And if you really dive deeper and into this, without some bad call, the Jazz saved the ball out of bounds, right? And they were claiming that it hit a referee or something. I don't know. The explanation was weird. It sounded like Mark Zumoff didn't get the information, and then once he finally did, all the craziness with Embiid was going on then. But my point is, I can't rely on this all-bench unit and Dwight Howard to play that way constantly enough. This all-bench unit destroyed you in the second quarter. It worked late, but it's not something that I want to die on. That's not the hill I'm dying on if I'm Doc Rivers. But I brought up that out-of-bounds play. I'm so wired and pumped right now. I don't know how to even handle my brain power. It's bouncing all around. If that call just went on normal, went on the right way, which in the NBA, it's 50-50. It's not even like they do that fantastic of a job, right? But then we're not even talking about this wild closeout that we got. But I'm so stoked for it. And I love the fact that, and it goes back to the culture of this team. It's so easy, and a lot of teams do this. At the end of a first half of a season, when you know you are transitioning into the All-Star break, it's so easy to look at that last game and go, I don't feel like playing tonight. This game doesn't really mean much. I want to get home to my kids. I want to get home to my wife. I want the week off. I want to relax. It's so easy to look past the opponent, no matter who it is. Even if it is the Lakers, the Celtics, in this case, the Utah Jazz. It's a natural thing that comes into play with human emotion. But they were clearly focused. They were dialed in. And I think a lot of that had to do with Tobias Harris coming back into the lineup. If you kept him off the floor and you didn't put him out there, It's like, all right, we don't want to injure Tobias Harris. So it puts that softer thought into the game. But because he played, it almost transitioned the wiring a bit upstairs for this team to clock in. All right, let's get this win. Let's make a statement. And they sure did. I am seriously stunned by this outcome. And there was a part of that fourth quarter where I realized, all right, no matter if they do lose, I am extremely proud of the fight in this team, and I'm extremely proud of the dog for them to truly stick together, stay together, and add so many chunks back into the fight. Like they continue to push back and creep back in. To the point where, all right, I understood that they were down early, and I was almost going to overlook the fact that they were miserable. Because let's be realistic, it wasn't all pretty. So I went through this emotional ride throughout where I was disgusted. I hated the three-point attempts, the lack thereof. I saw Seth Curry not pulling the three. And realistically, when I watched the team defend him, they're pulling back a bit, almost daring Seth Curry to shoot. He wouldn't. And you thought, there's no way this team could do anything tonight. And as they continue to fight through, my mind started changing. Okay, now I'm just happy with that they're here now. Now I'm just happy with the fact that they stayed true and just played ball. And they played hard. And all of a sudden, we're talking about a victory. And oh yeah, Rudy Gobert! Didn't I hear that you are Defensive Player of the Year? Didn't I hear that you think you're one of the best in the league? And he might be. He might be. But it's not enough for Joel. Oh, man. A 40-piece. A 40-piece and grabbing 19 boards. How do you stop the guy? I almost feel, and I kind of like it, but I don't like it at the same time, that we are unaware of what we're actually watching because we are numb and so excited for this. At the end of the game, here's your center with his back to the basket, right inside the three-point line, essentially, in that elbow area. And he's falling over. He's got the ball touching the ground. What's he doing? He's running back 4 feet to the three-point line to just cash a three. What are we watching here? And let's not look over the fact that he's working on the glass as well. Rudy Gobert had no business. Had no chance at all. And I like the strategy that Doc Rivers used a little bit with that defense for the Sixers because they pick and roll you to death. They're going to find their threes. They're going to hunt their threes. They're going to make them. And they're going to take a bunch. So with the drop coverage and all, forcing them to try and take longer twos, I thought that really benefited the team, trying to drop off. Now, it's not easy. And even Doc mentioned after the game, he did stress this a bit, that off the top of his head, he remembered a few times that he didn't like with the drop coverage, but there was something there for sure. I like that play out of Doc Rivers to say, hey, we're going to do this defensively. We're going to force them to come inside a bit and try and force them to take tougher shots. But I got to give credit to what Ben did. I got to give credit to what Matisse Thybulle did in his limited action. The last time they played, and keep in mind the rosters were different then because of who was out of the lineup, but Jordan Clarkson scored 7,000 points and he wouldn't miss. It made me pull my hair out the whole time. Every time Jordan Clarkson let one fly, well, guess what? Not tonight. Like, there's the rebound. There's the focus level. We knew what destroyed us last time. It's going to be a little different this time. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm starting to sweat. I'm starting to get a little hot in here. So this is how the game finished from the three-point perspective. 21 of 44 for the Utah Jazz. 8 of 25 for the 76ers. Whew. I mean, come on. What are we watching here? That's the line of the night for me. I'm in disbelief. I did have this feeling in my stomach, though. I really did. It felt right almost. It felt because they were hanging in. And one, there was that spurt of, wow, what's a three-point game? And Mike Scott hit a three-pointer in that fourth quarter to give the Sixers the lead. Now, the Utah countered, and they made threes of their own. This wasn't deep into the fourth. This was still when that bench unit was out there. But I bring it up because when Mike Scott drilled the three, and I looked out the scoreboard, and you hear the excitement in Mark Zumoff's voice, it's incredible to think that they were even in a scenario where Mike Scott can come off of your bench, hit a shot. You really haven't seen that much. You haven't seen that happen that much this year. But he hits a shot, and it gave them the lead. I think you can look at every player, for the most part, on this Sixers roster and say, you had a big moment in this game. You had a moment in this game. Ben Simmons, I talked about his defense and what he did to Donovan Mitchell, which was so special. Took him out of the game. And quite frankly, it irritated him. You don't get that type of result emotionally unless you're upset because maybe the shots aren't going your way. Now, he's claiming he didn't like where the referees were at that point of the game, at that stage of the game. All right, you knew that Ben Simmons had you in that area because you wouldn't have got kicked out. You wouldn't have done that to your teammates if you were performing, right? You're frustrated. That's what Ben Simmons does. He also gave you some offense, though, and some tough-looking shots where they do that snug pick and roll between Ben and Joel, close, tight inside the basket, inside the paint area, I should say, for Ben Simmons to get a nice baby hook across his body, off the glass. I did think early, I'm talking first quarter or so, that they tried to run the offense too much through a Ben Simmons post-up. And what they tried to do was get Rudy Gobert outside of the paint, get him outside of underneath the basket, stretch the court out a bit with Joel. So then you can have Ben Simmons operating and getting him going through that part of the court. But I thought they tried too hard to get Ben established in the post-up game. And I do think that is starting to become a better part of his offense. I really do. Each game I see different things added, and it's like, oh, we added a bit to the repertoire, and now he's able to do this, and he's quicker on his feet. And the decision-making in the post, I think, is also a tier higher as well out of Ben. But you can't force it either, right? Like, it's not natural back up to the basket. It's just, hey, this is something that he can do, and we're working on it, but it's not naturally dominant, if that makes sense. It's like, hey, we need to work on this, and we need to continue to do this. You don't have it. I hope that makes sense, but that's the way at least it looks to me. A little clunky at times, and he's working on it. But I also thought that there were just like aggressive moments in general out of Ben that made me excited and made me proud. We can't overlook Tobias. I saw someone on Twitter, and I'm not talking about a random person because those, I don't care about their opinions. There's a lot of stupid people on Twitter, let's say. So I'm not talking about the idiots or the morons that are out there on Twitter.com posting what they want to post after a win. I'm talking about someone in the media industry. Oh, yeah, Tobias Harris, right? Oh, Tobias Harris, because he took a ugly-looking shot, ripping him to pieces. This is your max guy. That's what it was. This is your max guy. He didn't say a damn word. I went back to check. I went to go get the notes, right? Went to go get the receipts. Didn't say a word afterwards. Tobias Harris was awesome. And I think it's so big to be able to rely on him outside of Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid can take you far. But you are going to need some help, right? You are going to need someone else to step up, and more than just a role player, more than just a couple guys maybe off your bench throughout the 48 minutes. I'm talking about a real guy that you can lean on, and this is a common theme. This isn't random. This isn't Dwight Howard. This is a perfect tie. And why I said earlier, you can't rely on your bench to do that. I can rely on Tobias to be this. It doesn't mean every night he gets the chance it will happen. I always date it back to Dwight and Toby had a moment late in the game, fourth quarter, last possession, and they stepped out of bounds and had a miserable-looking dribble handoff. It will happen at times that he fails, but I have seen it countless times this season to make me comfortable saying Tobias Harris is that secondary piece when you need to put the ball in some hands late. And if it's not going to be Joel Embiid, which it's impossible to be Embiid every possession. I know we want it to be, and in theory, hey, maybe it can be. But you're going to need a Robin to the Batman. You're going to need a Scottie Pippen to the Michael Jordan. And Tobias Harris, consistently this season, has been able to step up in that role. Monstrous. That's the way that I describe that. Monstrous. And do you know what else is monstrous? My friends over at Simone Jewelers. Let me tell you about my friends over there. I went to them for my fiance's engagement ring. She fell over. I went back for Christmas to get an outstanding necklace. She fell over again. They are the best in the business. Simone Jewelers is a family-owned business with 40-plus years of experience. They moved from Jewelers Row to Haddonfield, New Jersey. They don't use sale tactics. They just show you options and educate the customers, and they treat customers like family. They customize and manufacture every ring they make from start to finish right there on location. And because of that, they're able to beat all the competitors' prices. I've sent a ton of family members and friends in their direction, and I constantly get the same results back. Wow, they are unbelievable, and you'll see exactly what I mean. I'm not lying. I go to them every single time I need something in the jewelry department. Tell them Brodes sent you. Simone Jewelers in Haddonfield, New Jersey. Their information is all down below in the description. You have to go there. Best in the business. Just like Joel Embiid. Woo! I haven't felt this way in a while. When he had that 50-point performance, I didn't feel this way. I was excited. I was juiced up. Regular season games, it takes a lot for me to feel this high. And I felt it with that 50-game performance, but I'd be lying if I said this was on the same page. This was an incredible victory. And I just laughed because, and this goes back to how people view this journey, or at least ride the journey. 2 games ago, what were people saying about this team? Oh, they stink. The Cavs, how do you lose? Oh my God, how? And I'm cool with being frustrated with those losses. But I think you can't lose sight on what really matters. And it's not one random game where they should have beat the Cavs. It's not one random game when they lose to a team that they should destroy. That's fine. And even if they lose to good teams, it's more of you need to take a sample size that's more than just one game and say they need this because of that game. This is a hell of a win. This type of win makes you wonder what can be. I don't know if this amount of threes will win you many games, though, right? And that is a bit of a concern. 25 three-point attempts, it's way too low in 2021. I don't know if you can consistently compete, but it's about the mindset, the determination, and the motivation to stay involved and to stay engaged and to not let this thing slip, where, seriously, when you watch the game, it had the feel for majority of it. 85% of the game felt like the Utah Jazz were just going to roll and go back to Utah and head into the All-Star break with a nice, easy victory, have some coffee on the ride home, maybe some champagne, I don't know. I'd be drinking a fat cup of Joe any day of the week, all day. There's no denying that. But it felt it was all them. And out of nowhere, they snagged it. Give me that fucking win! Oh, I'm so excited, and I can't wait to hear from all of you. So let's just jump right into the Anytime Hotline because I am fired up, and I want to hear what the people had to say about this one.
Wow, what a thrilling win. First of all, Joel Embiid is definitely the GOAT. It was really nice to see our bench create that spark in the fourth quarter to get us to that tie. And yeah, the bench actually played pretty well the whole game. What I'm curious about is how were we that close when we shot the ball so poorly from 3 and they shot so well from 3 and from the field in general? Curious to hear what your thoughts on that.
I wish I knew. I don't have that answer for you. I think we're all stunned. And being stunned is almost the right way to feel because there is no explanation. If you add it all up and you do the math and you use the statistics and you watch the game and you see the data, no one knows how they won this game. Except, well, you mentioned it from the jump, and I thought you were going to say MVP. You went full on GOAT. I don't know if I can get to that level, but MVP-wise, to put that type of effort out there and to control the game and to hit the game big shot at the end of the fourth quarter and to help your team and to get to the free throw line and to be the man against Rudy Gobert, who is looked at as one of the top premier defenders in the league. It just adds to the resume that he already has to make a case of, this is my league. This is my league. And I'm embracing it. I really am. I get asked all the time about it. My normal reaction to it is, you know what? Giannis won MVPs, but he gets shut down in the playoffs and doesn't work. It doesn't work the same way. I get stuck into that sometimes. But when you get one like this, when you get a real good one, a real juicy one that makes you, like, this is the beauty of sports. This is the type of game that brings out that love and the rise that you get. Now imagine that happening with the Wells Fargo Center. It's a shame because we are starting to get fans back soon. Unfortunately, it wasn't for this one. That Dwight Howard run, that Dwight Howard block, could you imagine what would have happened? You'd go deaf. You'd literally be deaf at the end of it. How about when Joel hits that three? Or when Tobias constantly takes it to the rack, gets about 2 inches from the basket, and drills it in OT. Constantly gets the ball, attacks the matchup, gets to where he wants to on the floor, puts it right in. Gets to a comfortable spot where he thinks he succeeds best, and elevates. Elevates over the defender, bang, right in, bang, next possession, bang. I wish we got to see that. I wish we got to see that in real life. People in the stands.
What a win by the Sixers tonight. In my opinion, the win of the year, or even better than the Lakers win. Embiid is an absolute beast. Harris came up clutch in overtime. And in my opinion, this Jazz team, like, they might look like a good team. The record might look phenomenal, but in my opinion, they're a team that's not going to be sustainable come playoff time. They're a one-trick pony. All they know how to do is shoot threes. And as the Houston Rockets have proved for the last decade, if you just rely on one thing throughout your entire playoffs, in the playoff situation, you're not going to get anywhere.
I do think that this team is different than the Rockets team. They're doing it at a different level, a different feel to it. I question if this is serious as well, especially the last time these two teams competed. I didn't know if shooting those threes like that is going to be a sustainable way of winning in the playoffs, and I think that is a very reasonable question. I think a lot of people in the NBA world are saying the same thing. I just go back to, I don't know if there's that team. When the Houston Rockets were playing that way, the Golden State Warriors were in its prime. Is there a team that excels to that level? And everyone will think the Lakers, and you will look that way. And the Phoenix Suns are having a good stretch right now. They're off to a phenomenal start this season, and there's other teams. But people probably question Phoenix as well because they haven't really done it. They haven't really proved it. And star-wise, sure, CP3 is a big name, but it doesn't pop like a Kevin Durant, a Steph Curry, a James Harden on that level. And I think the playoff success says that. When analyzing how they play, this is such a new style of basketball now, and the Rockets somewhat started that trend, and I wonder if the Jazz are taking it a step further. So the Rockets started this, and then now the Jazz took it and made it its own unique way, and will their version of what the Rockets did work? And when you look at what else is out there compared to the rest of the league, if they are firing, well, then it will work because no one can compete with that. No one can compete with that firepower. This isn't something that teams are going to say, oh, hold on, I think the Sixers beat the Utah Jazz. Let me take my notes. Let me grab my pen. Let me take my notes on what the Sixers did so I can copy that, apply that to my roster, and see if we can snag some wins in the playoffs against the Jazz too. I think we're all in agreement there, right? That this isn't a recipe against this team. So if the Jazz click like this, maybe I'm starting to be convinced that there's something there. But that's more down the line, and that's more down the road. Tonight, I want to enjoy this, because that was sensational.
What's up, Brodes? What a game. Had to be the best game of the season, in my opinion. Joel Embiid, Rudy Gobert had a handful tonight. And Joel Embiid said, call me daddy. He dominated him. Nothing else to say but domination. Tobias Harris clutch in the overtime. The bench is still a little bit of an issue.
I don't want to get into that stuff. I want to enjoy this, right? We can talk about Furkan Korkmaz. We can talk about some other players off the bench, Mike Scott, and Dwight Howard was great, so I'll love to talk about it. But tonight, right now, I get it. There's problems. This team's not perfect, but it's not the night to harp on things. And I'm not saying you specifically were harping on things, but I don't even want to think about it. This is one of those times, those rare times, where I'm letting the emotions fly. Rare, right? You don't see that often. I am so proud of the team. It's that father moment where you look at your son and it clicks. You have your arms folded, whatever sporting event you're at, you see something, you nod your head, and you realize, yep, that's my son, or that's my daughter, that's my kid. That's what I just witnessed out of Embiid. I'm the father in the stands, the basketball father. Just looking around. If there were fans there, appreciating the fans that were appreciating my child. That's the type of feeling I have towards the Sixers right now. I'm so proud of how they were able to do things, how they were able to operate, how they were able to keep their mind together. That's championship caliber stuff. We need to watch Embiid grow. We need to watch Ben Simmons grow. That's what this has all been about. People demanded the championship to happen within the snap of their fingers when it came to these two. They got their asses hurt big time against the Toronto Raptors Game 7. You don't think that plays a role in who they have become and how they have been taking steps forward and progressing? Sure it has. Those type of painful losses, those type of losses in the past, you take that knowledge, you take that film, and you drill it into your head. You let it sink in. You let it eat you alive. And all of that has now helped Joel Embiid. Now it's different when you're in the fourth quarter. Now you think the game differently. Now you have more experience, but you've been through the war. You understand the war. And you look at a player like Donovan Mitchell, and maybe this is that type of moment where Embiid's crying off the court. He knew how much that hurt him. Well, with Donovan Mitchell, maybe this is a teaching moment, and he realized I costed my team. I at least costed my team an opportunity to maybe make something happen late in overtime. But I was selfish, and I was worried about my frustrations, and I poured it out. I wore it on my sleeve, but a little too much. And even what he said to the media afterwards. Quite frankly, I don't give a damn. Quite frankly, I don't care how he develops, but I'm just looking at it from an athlete level. Why we saw Joel and Ben play the way that they did tonight, I absolutely 100% believe that it comes from losses like Toronto. It's just called development. It's called professionalism. It's called becoming more mature as a player.
Bro, you can't tell me that's not the MVP. They might as well start carving his name right now. Oh my God. This dude separates him from players dropping 50 and losing. This dude, he won the game. The Sixers didn't win. Doc Rivers didn't win. Joel Embiid won that game. Hands down. No one else. Tobias helped in the OT. That's about it. He won that game. Doc Rivers game plan, letting them shoot wide open threes while Joel took it back in the paint because Rudy Gobert, I don't know what he was doing, but that was 100% on Doc. I don't blame any of the players on that. That's what you call an MVP right there.
I'm with you with how great Joel Embiid is. I don't love how you're not giving anybody else credit. Like Dwight Howard was big for the success of this. Ben Simmons clamped Donovan Mitchell late, and he had some nice offensive moments. You gave your props to Tobias. I'm excited like anybody else for what Joel Embiid has done. And he makes this regular season way more entertaining for me. I'm more of a snooze through the regular season guy. Even though I talk about it each night, it's not so much, oh, I love this. It is when you have Embiid, though. It is when you have a special talent that plays at this rate. For him to be in your city, we've experienced Allen Iverson. And I loved everything Allen Iverson ever did in that uniform. There is a difference, though, in being 6 years old in 01 compared to being 25. There's a different level of appreciation, a different level of noticing what this really means. Allen Iverson was one of the best athletes I've ever seen and ever witnessed and ever watched, and it was my childhood. Watching a man do it now, though, studying a professional athlete now, though, at 25. Woo! And it's so fun, like his personality adds context to this. His position adds more. Everything. It being Joel Embiid. And this is no knock on Ben, but I'm just trying to put it in perspective on why I feel that this ride is a different way. Ben Simmons is a cool dude. He's a Los Angeles dude. He's a West Coast dude. He's a I love to date the models type guy. And so does Joel Embiid, to be fair, and good for them both. I'm, excited for them. But if Ben Simmons was playing at the level of Joel Embiid, you don't have that pizzazz. You don't have that bling. You don't have that pop. He's got a different personality. Joel, he's loud. He's funny. He's goofy. He's all this. He's all this. His personality, it's all this. So when he gives you a 40 piece, when he drops you a 50 burger, it hits different. It adds that level of swag. You can act the way that you do if you support it. You don't got role players yapping away like that unless you're Pat Bev, but he earns it too in his own way. And I have no clue how this is going to tie into the conversation. It's not. TJ McConnell? Oh, man. My man got a what? What? How many steals? Double digits? Ridiculous. Wild. No clue how that ties in there at all. But what I do know is DraftKings has something you can't miss for this weekend. UFC 259 is this weekend and is sure to be action-packed with 3 title fights taking place in one night. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, is putting you in the center of this weekend's title fight with 100-1 odds on either fighter to land a punch during the title fight. Pick either main event fighter to land a punch during this weekend's UFC 259 bout, and DraftKings Sportsbook will give you 100-1 odds. Bet $1 and you will cash $100. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 if either main event fighter lands a punch on Saturday. Place your bet and watch the fist fly this weekend. That's code Brodes to turn $1 into $100 if either fight lands a punch. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. These are one of those games where I am running on fumes here. Like the adrenaline ride is going bonkers, and I'm trying to slow myself down.
What a great win by the Sixers tonight. However, with that said, I still don't see the hype with Ben Simmons.
What? 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 Do I keep playing this? Do I continue to play this call? I don't even know. We will. Deep breaths. Here we go.
You look over his stats in the last 4 years, they're basically the same for his rebound, assists, and points. I just want him to get an elbow jumper. That would open up his game so much, and it's just embarrassing as an NBA player. He has made no progress in 4 years to get an elbow jumper. He went scoreless since the third quarter, and defense was pretty well, but I just want him to get better with a jumper to really make them a contender.
Oh my God. I'm going to sit on that. I'm going to sit on that. I labeled it. I am going to sit on that. We're going to have this conversation again for sure about this game. More on this game. I have a billion anytime hotline calls to get to, so obviously we're going to talk about this game more. Wow. I might start the next one with that call. That's what we're going to do. I can't do that right now. All right, one more friend that I need to tell you about, and that's Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, they are home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. They are dedicated to making sure that your project is completed easily and properly by using high-quality materials and trained professionals to get the job done right. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So check out their information. It is all down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening. I can't wait to further this discussion, and I will see you next time.